Hi everyone, good morning. I'm here to talk about optimization, and I know it's a huge topic. I can't possibly cover it in the short amount of time I've had here on stage, but I will try to inspire you. I'll try to maybe give you a little bit of different thinking and a perspective from our way. And our way is maybe different from yours, but I will touch upon that. What I'm not going to talk about is the equipment. Don't get me wrong, I really love cameras. I've been camera hoarder for years. But at the end of the day, I'm more interested in how cameras are actually put into context, what the results are. And being a photographer and also programmer, I have a little bit of mindset about that. I come from a company called Boozt.com. We are a Nordic multi-brand department store with over 1,200 brands. We focus mainly on curating men's fashion, women's fashion, kids. We also have departments in beauty, sports, and also home department, which is the latest one. Boozt originated from a tech startup. We were doing e-com sites for other companies like Bestseller, also the Echo shoe company. And around 2011, we figured out, hey, what's so intriguing about selling stuff online, right? what's so interesting? And basically, you can imagine the rest is history. We're still very passionate about tech. This is something that drives us forward, I would say. It's the ethos and the spirit of the company, being a tech company from the beginning. I always joke and say that it's better that we are a tech company doing fashion than the other way around, right? Maybe. We have tailor-made infrastructures, both external and internal. This gives us the leverage of doing stuff that we really can focus on and leverage our potential. We have development of applications like Android, iPhone systems that powers us, the warehouse systems, of course. My name is Mateusz Zablocki. I'm the photo studio technical lead at Boozt. I've been doing that for almost a decade now. It was never meant to be, but something special about it keeps me going. I'm involved in the photo studio infrastructure. I'm building and designing the infrastructure of the photo studio, meaning the photo sets. I designed them I'm developing and designing them. I also am involved in the image processes, heavily involved, since I have a background as a photographer. The programmer. I do innovation and development. Yeah, I have, as I said, a background as a photographer. I've done a lot of product shoots before and so on, but I also have the other side of me that's very technical, I'm kind of fond of coding stuff and making things happen. It's a great way to get results really quickly. Our studio is located in the warehouse, so we don't have the logistics problem. And I would say we're quite efficient of what we're doing. We're actually shooting close to 1 million images annually. And I would like to start off by asking you, how many people do you think are involved on average on a daily working day? Is it 20, 40, 60, 80? What do you guys think? Any number. Not you guys, I know you. You're laughing. I told him yesterday. Okay. Sorry? 10, wow. No, it's actually just me, no. It's less than 20 people. It's actually 19 and a half. And we have 2 guys picking stuff from warehouse, so that's even less. That's around 230, 225,000 products annually. I think it's quite a remarkable number, given the fact that we're that few people. So you might ask, how do we do it? Of course, it's not been done overnight, but things that I found myself during the ways when we developed the studio, the infrastructure, and also the image processes, I reached out to some of the principles I learned as a coder. And I encourage anyone, whenever it's possible, to think as a developer, to start from a developer's perspective and progress through. I know there's a lot of people that are creative and we don't need code and stuff like that, but having that fundamental thing enables you to create more. So giving creativity a little more push later on when you have everything done. I would like to share a little bit of the way I think. Those 3 principles help me to be critical about the processes in the studio and the development. The principles that are derived directly from coding. The DRIVE principle, it stands for do not repeat yourself. The YAGNI, you ain't gonna need it. And my favorite is KISS principle, is keep it simple, stupid. If we start with the first principle, it's actually, from coder perspective, it says code should never be written twice, but it could be run multiple times. So not written, just written once and run multiple times. If you apply that on our process in the studio, I think the first one to start with is get clarity and transparency in your process. Audit your process. See, when you have the clarity and transparency, all these obstacles make themselves, you will be aware of the obstacles. And that could be repeatable tasks or tasks you actually don't need. And I would say there are 3 ways to deal with them. Whenever you come into a conclusion, okay, this is something that we need to fix. The first one would be to remove it, if it's possible. Don't linger and think that this process will make you better. Try to remove it. And I can give you an example. We were doing too many checks on images. In my opinion, it should be only 3. First and foremost, photo studio. The second is post-production, and the third is the product approval or image approval. If you really trust your post-production, there could only be 2. But that's something we can't really do today. The second is to distribute the repeatable tasks. We found ourselves doing detail images. So whenever we shot images on photo sets, they had to pass this detail station in order to receive a detail image, which is kind of redundant from many perspectives. Photographic perspective, you have the problem with the white balance, you have the problems with all sorts, and then from the lean perspective. That's something we thought of and said, okay, this part we can actually distribute to get to our photo sets in order to kind of distribute it and have the task done at every photo set instead of having that little detail set doing all the images. And it was more fun for the people in the studio, and we had to retrain, of course, the people that were involved, but that was something. If you cannot remove or distribute the repeatable tasks, automate is the only way, I would say. And manual is very error prone, so if it's possible, you should automate it. And start with small. Don't try to build a house before you actually do a city and so on. And this is what's intriguing about this kind of e-com business, at least from my perspective in the studio, is that small things can have a huge impact on the processes and related processes in the studio and give a really huge result over time. If I can segment out and identify the ways we work in the studio is on a day-to-day basis, we have the small scripting stuff that goes from one folder to another. There's a script that triggers the flow and so on. And then we have our software. We have actually a software that controls the shooting. It lives on top of Capture One. I would identify as an intermediate, but the one that I would like to give you an example of, and this is something we recently been doing, is the systems that are data-driven and data-driven flows. It's a larger system that interacts and talks with other systems and so on. Maybe there's a AI or machine learning coupled to it and so on. And the process I'm going to show you is we found ourselves that on a daily basis, in peak season, we spend 4 to 5 hours a day to just get our sample ordering. So there's a person actually maneuvering in the system, clicking, fixing stuff just to get the sample orders fixed. 4 hours a day in peak season. That's a lot of hours we can say, right? So this is a next project I'm hoping to finish beginning of next year. And I would like to walk you through what actually happens, the logic behind the system. And with any data-driven flows, there are a couple of things you have to think of, and there's a couple of things you cannot just skip. Get the data at the earliest stage possible. Get the data whenever you buy things or you get it from vendors. Make sure that there's enough data and it's validated because you don't want to supply the data, right? And also get error report. Try to improve it. So if we get the stuff in delivery, when the stuff is in our warehouse and registered by the system, we check for the image if it's there, if the main image, the position 0, if it exists or not. Then if it does exist, of course, we don't have to shoot it. No, it goes on the sample list. Then we do the sorting, and the logic is based on a rack. So a rack can hold 20 to 30 items. We know that by the weight of it. Again, the data helps you out here. And then we sort it based on the date, the oldest first, location, where it actually resides. If it's female, male, bottom, kids or accessory, top, bottom, etc. And then we sort it out, make the order for the 20, 25 items. We send it to picking, and then we iterate over. So that's the logic that I'm trying to fix next year. Hopefully it will be in the beginning. If you can't really automate, if you don't have the resources to dig into the process and fixing your automated flow, the only thing I could stress really much to not to repeat editing colors would be invest in a good color profile. This is, you can see, maybe it's not really good to see, but you can probably see that there is a difference. What we did with that profile is just base settings. But we gave us, instead of tweaking 9 out of 10 items challenging colors, which is around 10% of our flow, we had to just tweak 1. So that's a good investment, just not to repeat stuff and to simplify it. Yawn Principle, the second principle, you ain't gonna need it. As the principle states, it's always implement things when you actually need, never when you foresee that you might need them. Basically, in programming, it's called premature optimization. You think you need all these features that you add to your flow and to your customers and etc. But do they really need them? How many of you are been to the gas or what do you call it? So GAS is a acronym for Gear Acquisition Syndrome. It's related to photography. It's basically camera hoarding. Try to avoid that. I've been there. I've been through all the brands. I'm still not satisfied with the brand I have. I'm not telling you which one. Try to remove the things that you don't need. So we're still having cameras from 2015, pushing those cameras to the maximum, 24, 25 megapixels, and the dynamic range in a controlled environment will get you very, very far. So you don't have to buy things that they say, okay, of course, depends on your need. If there's auto tracking and focus better for photographers that you need, of course. And optimization to what extent? Now, this one is tricky because color kind of divides us. It's very subjective. But I would say that And for this is, of course, for the challenging colors. If it's 80% correct, let it go. You will never get it right. Never get it right. And if you're courageous, let customers point it out for you. Do you have problems with your connected to the returns on the color? Is it a problem? Do you shoot video only because it's a trend? Let people tell you. Do A/B testing. My favorite one, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I tweaked that one. It was said by a guy named Leonardo. I think it's quite a remarkable statement. But simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I would say it's the ultimate complexity, because behind things that we perceive as natural, let's say iPhone, for example, on the surface, it's so simple, right? People that are young can use it, people that are old can use it, but there's a complexity to it. Bear that in mind, but try to avoid all the obstacles. So try to minimize the equipment that you use. Maybe you're not using all the lights. If I can get away with just having to shoot with one light, I'll do it every day of the week. Can I do it? Yes. Okay. Make sure that the equipment is consistent and flexible. I mean, do you want to update firmware on 30 different cameras? Do you want to, fix lighting for different brands? Do you have different type of lighting? Do you want to fix that? Or try to make it, the setup and equipment consistent and flexible. That meaning, which I'll show you in the next couple of slides, we try to think, and it's also from programming, I would say, the modular way of doing things. You want to think of Lego. Think of Lego like, do you want to build this tree every time you scale? No. Keep it simple. Try to automate the equipment. Our recipe is basically to not hire photographers. Automate, and I try to joke about it, to stupidify as much as possible so everyone can understand it. So we can get someone really fast on board to get to know the equipment, to start shooting. Simplify the UI UX. As I mentioned, we have our own system called the Boozt image capturing system that's on top of Capture One, because it's really intimidating for people that have never been involved with photography. And anyone who ever been shooting and seeing Capture One interface, or Lightroom for that reason, it could be really intimidating. So try to simplify the UI UX. Give people just few buttons, not thousands of buttons, although I love the buttons. But centralize the flow. Don't distribute the flow, because it will be easier for you to update, to fix it, to having a centralized update also enables you to have statistics and so on. Again, simple is scalable. You don't want to build the Lego Christmas tree every time you actually try to scale. And there's a benefit also with automatization. It's easier to actually scale up and scale down. It enables you to do that, especially in those times we are actually in now. I will leave you with some of our images. This is how our studio looks like. There's no people in it. But you can see that we try to use only one light. It's very modular. We use trusses to actually be flexible, to rearrange. We can rearrange that to shoot models if we wanted to do that in a couple of maybe 1 hour or so. The set will be ready, maybe even faster. So the modular way to do things. Actually, this set is one of the sets that uses more than one light. And before I leave you, I would like to leave you with a statement that's kind of powerful statement. I think it's correct. It was written by a woman called Shoshana Zuboff. I don't know if you heard about her. It was written actually 35 years ago. She's a Harvard scholar and social psychologist, and I think it's very, very true. Everything that can be automated will be automated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. That was interesting. A
Cool.
different approach
Yes.
to running a studio. Nice, I like it. Questions for Mateusz here? I think they'll be popping up. I heard some estimates down in the back of the room of like 80, 100 people when you asked in the beginning. So I think some must be curious on how to do it in actual real life.
Sure.
But the first one, Mateusz, is how do you ensure new tech is used to its fullest potential by your teams?
We stupidify it. Make sure we automate as much as possible. And the news tech being, again, going back to Yawn or KISS principle, do you really need it? Can you drive the potential of the cameras that you have to the fullest degree? And I think you can. Of course, it depends on your situation. But again, the people that we work are non-photographers, so we try to make automation as smooth as possible and get people on board.
Yeah. Can I ask you, because you said you do a lot of the different tools you use by yourself?
Yes.
Yes. If you were to look at a split of how much do you buy from external vendors like Capture One or whatever stuff you've developed yourself, what is that split?
I mean, Bix, which is our system that sits on top of Capture One, I think it's a 50-50. We use things that we can use from Capture One for like preview and so on. We don't reinvent the wheel, but the split is, I would say 50-50.
Yeah.
On Capture One at least.
Good. Let's get back here. Are your teams trained, encouraged to think like a developer, and how have you trained them to do this?
No, it's basically mostly me and our teams that we have overseas in Lithuania and Poland. But the projects that I have are mostly driven by me. Of course, we have to think of the investment and so on, but mostly me, yeah.
Okay, good. Let's jump on to what's your next big challenge?
I would love to see video and models, which we currently lack. And I think it's honesty, and I've kind of criticized that before. I think it's a big miss, but that's what the management doesn't want to, so
yeah.
But when it's 3D, no, I don't think, as mentioned before in the panel, all these things, yeah, we have to see how they develop, how the customer behavior reacts to those. But, thinking of AR, you're basically striving away what you're doing from the beginning, right? So you want people to have less distance to buying, to that kind of... and I always say, we sell images, we don't sell products. So we want that quick thing into backs. Yeah.
Should we take this one? I'm a little curious about. Do you use AI in your automation or workflows, and for what?
Yes, we have. So we've done a lot of automation. One is basically when we found ourselves that we have a physical person on when the goods were shot in the studio, they had to go fold down and then back to warehouse. There was actually a physical person checking washing instructions. And if we didn't get that data, which is another topic where we have to have standardized things in our business, that person had to click and see if that data was okay. What we did was that we now distributed it to our photo stations, photo sets, to take an image of the washing instruction and then train our data or AI on that to scrape the symbols to make sure that it goes through the flow. We don't have to do it just for one person. There are many of those actually projects.
Okay,
That's one.
good. Then if we jump to the top one here, is it necessary with custom profiles for each station, or does the consistent equipment mean that you can share a profile across?
Yes and no, depending on your flow. We have 2 flows right now. So we have quality control and also the operator on same station. That means the things have to be calibrated, automated and calibrated. And we ensure on their eyes. Again, when challenging colors come, 80% correctness, move on to the next one. There's the other flow where we just collect images through a quality controller. So you don't have to have that calibration on the station. They can basically shoot in black and white, just to ensure that the exposure is correct. And of course, focus and so on, but yeah.
Good. I have one here I'm a little curious about as well. Do you really think that professional photographers are not needed in the process?
No. In our process, absolutely not. And I don't think even for pack shots, for models, standing and just doing the twirl back and forth around is not needed. But things that cannot be automated are the stuff that actually have to be felt, like live. You have to have that certain connection with the model. There's something in the eyes. I don't think that can be automated. Imagery that are type of image, image type images.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Good. I'll jump to the top one here, right, with the 3 likes up there. What part of your workflow is not yet automated? And you could also ask that you would like to automate.
There's so many. There's a lot. One is, of course, the sample ordering. I think it's a quite redundant process. Sitting, clicking, maneuvering in the system, trying to get the sample orders in a certain category, in a certain way. The other thing is, having visibility in our studio is a little bit challenging. That's what I'll learn from Creative Force.
Yeah, I was about to look at the guys over there. I think they would like to help you with some of that stuff.
I know.
Yeah, good. One last question. Which one should we take? Let's take the middle one here. Cannot afford to have oops moments for any big brand. Media will have a field day. How much QA is too much QA? And do we not still need a human eye on things?
As said, I think if you really trust your post-production, then there's only 2 steps in the process. But we tend to not trust anyone, at least me. So yeah, 3 process and oops moments, I think they appear everywhere. But we try to minimize those by having that quality assurance step at the last step in the process. But it's sometimes hard to slip through. I think we've all seen the kind of oops moments.
Cool. Great. Mateusz, we're out of time. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
All right. Thanks, guys.